In a small African village, whispers spread like wildfire, a scandal so shocking, so unthinkable, that even the elders sat in silence. A 60-year-old widow, long believed barren and forgotten by time, was suddenly pregnant, and the entire village pointed to one man, not because of love, not because of marriage, but because of something they claimed was extraordinary, unnatural, even cursed. His manhood was said to be his greatest blessing, and his deepest curse. But behind the gossip and laughter hid a story drenched in pain, injustice, and betrayal. And once the truth unraveled, no one in that village would ever look at him the same again. He was called Kofi, a tall, strong young man with eyes that carried both pride and sorrow. Born into poverty, his life was never his own. From a young age, he worked the fields, carrying the weight of generations before him. His father had been taken by illness, his mother left to raise him in hardship. Yet what set Kofi apart wasn't just his strength or resilience, it was what people whispered about in secret. Women, especially the older ones, spread hushed stories that Kofi's manhood was unnatural, almost divine. Men laughed at the rumors, but deep down, many feared him. In a society where masculinity was often measured by myths and power, Kofi's body became a spectacle, a symbol he never asked for. For years he ignored the rumors, living quietly, helping his mother, and dreaming of a life beyond the village. But when the chief's widow, Mama Abina, a woman nearing 60, was found pregnant, the entire village turned to him. They didn't ask if he was guilty. They didn't ask if it was possible. They simply decided. Kofi had done it. And suddenly, his life was no longer his own. This accusation wasn't just about scandal, it was about shame, power, and control. In a community where respect for elders was sacred, how could a young man dare bring disgrace upon the widow of the chief? No one cared about his truth. No one asked about hers. And so began the unraveling of Kofi's world. From the moment the widow's belly began to swell, Kofi's name became poison. Children sang cruel songs in the street mocking him. Men whispered he had used his curse to humiliate the late chief's family. Women stared at him with disgust, or worse, with curiosity. His mother wept in silence each night, begging him to leave, but where could he go? This was his home, his ancestors' land. Soon the elders called for a gathering beneath the old baobab tree. Hundreds gathered, faces tense with anger and shame. Mama Abena sat quietly, veiled, refusing to speak. But everyone already knew. The eldest elder spoke. "This boy has dishonored the spirit of the chief. He has defiled our tradition. What punishment should befall him?" And the crowd roared. Banishment, whipping, even death. But no one asked the most basic question. Was it true? The injustice burned inside Kofi. He knew the truth. He had never touched the widow. Yet the silence of Mama Abena condemned him. Why didn't she speak? Why didn't she clear his name? Days turned into weeks. Kofi's once simple life became a nightmare. Markets refused to sell him food. Friends turned their backs. His mother fell ill from the stress. But beneath it all, Kofi began to suspect something darker. Why was Mama Abena silent? Why was she allowing this lie to spread? The truth revealed itself slowly. One night, as Kofi sat alone near the river, an old man approached. He was frail, his voice trembling, but his words pierced deep. "It was not you, my son. The widow carries the child of another, a man of power. But they chose you as the scapegoat. Because you are young, poor, and already marked by rumor. They know the village will believe the lie." The old man spoke no more, but the weight of his words crushed Kofi's chest. If this was true, then his suffering wasn't fate. It was design, a deliberate act to protect someone else. And the question haunted him. Who was the real father? The answer came on a night of storms, when secrets refused to stay buried. Kofi, broken and desperate, confronted Mama Abena at her home. She was weak, her swollen belly heavy, but her eyes, once proud, were filled with fear. He demanded the truth, but again, silence. It wasn't until he threatened to leave the village forever that she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. The child is not yours. It belongs to the chief's own son, the one who lives far away in the city. He came in secret, ashamed of what people would say if they knew his father's widow carried his blood. So they chose you. Because the village already believes you are cursed. Kofi's heart shattered. The widow was not his enemy. She was a prisoner of fear, too. Forced into silence, forced to let a lie destroy him. But the storm outside mirrored the storm within. He stormed into the village square, his voice rising above the thunder. He declared the truth, that the real father was a man of power, that he was innocent, that they had all condemned him without proof. Yet instead of freedom, his words brought chaos. Some called him a liar, some begged for proof. Others began to whisper, their trust in the chief's family shaken. And in that chaos, Kofi realized the truth. No matter what he said, the stain of accusation would never leave him. His name, his body, his very existence forever chained to a lie. In the weeks that followed, Mama Abena gave birth to a healthy child. She never spoke of the father again. The elders, unwilling to expose the shame of the chief's bloodline, kept their silence too. And Kofi, though not officially punished, remained an outcast. His mother's health worsened. They survived, only because a few kind souls slipped them food in secret. But the majority of the village turned their faces away. To them, truth didn't matter. Only reputation did. Years later, when the child grew old enough to ask questions, rumors still swirled. Kofi, the cursed one, the man who impregnated the widow. The lie had become history, passed down like a twisted tale of shame. Kofi never married, never found peace, but he carried a lesson carved deep into his soul, that injustice often wears the mask of tradition, that power protects itself, and that the poor are the easiest to condemn. And so the story lingers, whispered from generation to generation, not just as scandal but as warning, because behind every rumor is a life destroyed, behind every false accusation is a truth buried. And Kofi's story asks one haunting question. How many more lives have been sacrificed to silence, to protect the powerful, while the innocent are left to carry the weight of lies?